All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for the talk with photographer Mann, dancers Jose Sebastian, and my name is Anthony Madonna, and I am the Patty Kenna Director of Learning and New Works here at Guildhall. Before I introduce today's panel artist, I want to give a brief context to this exhibition, a creative retreat. The majority of this exhibition stems from our permanent collection. And it's an incredible platform to the creative community that has called and made East Hampton, or the East End of Long Island, a cultural destination. There's a series of photographs in this exhibition that is sort of the center or the pillar, and that is behind you. There's a series by the photographer Jonas Gruen from a photo collection called Young in the Hamptons. And it's a series of photos of some artists that I admire. Frank O'Hara, Morgan Feldman, Jasper Johns, Rauschenberg, just chilling on the beach over there. And it is incredibly exciting to see that this community is still thriving. Artists are still here and creating. And we've highlighted that through including the work of Linda K. Alpern, who is here with us. Her work is directly behind. Lorian Lambrecht, whose work is on the printed newsprint and is this wall. And of course, Mark Mann. Woohoo, yeah. So I am going to do the thing where I read some bios because these folks are incredibly impressive and I think you should all know who they are before we jump in. Mark Mann is a celebrity and advertising photographer who originally hails from the sun-soaked streets of Glasgow, Scotland. The countless list of famous faces photographed in Mann's unique and recognizable style includes President Barack Obama, President Bill Clinton, Iggy Pop, Rihanna, Martin Scorsese, Jennifer Aniston, Stevie Wonder, Eartha Kitt, Robin Williams, Emma Stone. I could go on and on, it's pretty wild. Bradley Cooper, Willie Nelson, Sean Connery, and many more. Mark's editorial work has appeared in Esquire, Men's Health, Vibe, Spin, Fortune, Billboard, Parade, Complex. His clients include Reebok, Adidas, Hennessy, Bombay Sapphire, Pepsi, Gillette, Vitamin Water, NHL, Zumba, Ford, Chrysler, and Svedka, to name a few. Always hungry for new subjects and challenges, Mark has spearheaded his own projects over the years, one of which was creating a collection of lucha libre wrestlers, and a new body of work, Movement at the Still Point, which we will be discussing today. Joseph Classic Corella, that's classic with a K, is a renowned figure in the world of flexing, known for his exceptional talent and dedication to the art form. With a passion for teaching and sharing his expertise, he has traveled extensively across the globe, conducting workshops, classes, and performing to inspire and educate aspiring flexors. In addition to his teaching endeavors, Classic has made a significant impact in the entertainment industry through his appearance in various TV shows, such as So You Think You Can Dance, Showtime at the Apollo, the MTV Awards, the BET Awards, PBS Third Rail with Ozzy, and many more. Classic is currently commissioned by Works in Process and has been in several artistic residencies such as Guildhall, Cops Band, Bridge Street Theater, Jacob's Pillow, and many others. That's Classic. Jose Sebastian is the founder and artistic director of the Hamptons Dance Project. Jose started his dance training at age 8 with School of American Ballet and continued training there for nearly 10 years. joined the ABT Studio Company in 2006. He became an apprentice in 2009 and a member of the Corps in 2010. In 2022, Jose was appointed as the director of ABT Incubator, which is ABT's choreographic workshop program for inspiring the creation of new work. Personally, I am really excited to learn about your experience working with these two artists, Mark, because I've had an incredible time working with both Classic and Jose. Jose is supporting Hampton's Dance Project through the residency and seeing that project really grow over the past 5 years. This is its 6th season. And Classic and I worked together as part of the Missing Element during our Guildhall offstage season 2 years ago. But to start, Mark, can you tell us a bit about this project, Movement at the Still Point, how it came about? Because when speaking to you and learning more about it, it's really beautiful how it started in a place of sort of ambiguity and questioning, and it's quite dark time, but then was inspired by something really beautiful and playful.
Yeah. Pandemic, I don't want to go back to the pandemic, but during the pandemic, I lost my work. I mean, immediately. I'm a portrait photographer. I'm in your face with the camera. Nobody wanted me anywhere near them. Nobody wanted anyone anywhere near them. And as a lot of my friends and creatives around me were doing, we were looking for other outlets, and I became a still life photographer for about 15 minutes. Light's not good, okay. You know, I did drone photography for at least half an hour. Landscape, I mean, I tried everything, and what I realized is I was lonely. I was surrounded by my amazing family, but I was lonely, and I was missing the human connection, as I think all creatives really were at that time. So my sister-in-law, Lonnie Landon, is a choreographer, and she has worked with many dancers. And we were sitting and we were talking, we were sitting outside, and she said, "Why don't you photograph some of my dancers? Nobody's doing anything, let's just do something." So, cut long story short, I at that time had the use of a 100,000 square foot empty building on the west side of Manhattan, and we had no heating, no air conditioning, but we had the building. So I basically had the ability to have a dancer over here, and I was over there in a massive building with open windows, and we felt very comfortable to, for the dancer to take their mask off and to take some photos. We had beautiful daylight for about 2 hours of the day. The sun would come up and it would bounce off the Hudson and come in through these windows that literally hadn't been washed for 50, 60 years. So the grime, and it was just perfect. Reminds me of that Irving Penn story where somebody came into the studio, his new assistant cleaned his windows, and he just came in. So I've heard that story before, but I really understand it now, because these windows were terrible, they were grimy, but the light was beautiful. So basically, the first day, we had arranged 2 or 3 of Lonnie's friends to come in, who were dancers, and I set up a backdrop. And what's interesting about the backdrop is that it was actually painted for Irving Penn, and it was sent out to Penn's studio, and they sent it back to my friends to make some adjustments. My friends made some adjustments, sent it back. Penn sent it back for more adjustments, and then he died. So my friend Charles Broderson cut it into 4 pieces, of which I own 1. So I would be lying to say that Penn actually shot on it, but he would have done if he didn't die. There we go. So there we go. So I thought I should emulate my hero, Irving Penn, and I had daylight, and I had these incredible dancers, and the first dancer came in, and she said, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, "Dance." I don't know. I mean, my knowledge of dance was, Not
You're
if
not
you'd
a
asked-
dancer?
If you'd asked me if I preferred to go see a ballet or go for a root canal, I would have gone for a root canal. That's where I was, through sheer ignorance. So she started dancing, and I had my camera, and I realized I'm not taking photos because I'm having this personal performance, this personal vignette performance from a major talent for me. And also, nobody's seen anything live for about 1.5 years because of the pandemic. And it was mesmerizing. So she said, "How was that?" And I realized I hadn't taken any photos. I went, "That was great. Can we just do it again?" And then I did a portrait, and I sat. As soon as the dancers stopped dancing, they sat down immediately, and I did a portrait, and that I'm much more familiar with. And I got to have my conversation, and I got to find out a little about them and a little bit about me. And I did 3 or 4 dancers that day, and I went from this being this incredibly depressed person to just thinking that something had happened within me that had really changed, and that there could be a future, and there was art, and there was stuff going to happen, and everything was going to be okay, which was really interesting. And the dancers seemed to feel the same way. They loved being photographed by somebody who didn't know what he was doing, because there was no restrictions put on them. I wasn't saying, "Oh, do that pirouette, schmirouette again," because I didn't know what that was. It was just dance, be happy. So we did this for about 3 or 4 days, and what was wonderful is that all the dancers were unemployed. So like you call this guy, who's the busiest guy in the world, say, "You want to come over and do it?" "Yeah, I want to do it." So people were just showing, "Yeah, Misty Copeland, sure, she's coming." So, this guy, "Yeah, I can do it." And word of mouth kind of got around that this project was going on, and all of a sudden we didn't have to reach out anymore. People were reaching out to us to do this project. And I've never done a book, and I've never done a book because of my absolute fear of ending up in the bargain basement bin, the Barnes and Noble, where you go in and you see all these art books for like $1, and you're like, "No, I don't want to be in there." So I sent it to somebody I knew who knew somebody who knew somebody at Rizzoli, and Rizzoli got back to us very soon in the process and said, "Yeah, this is a great book, keep going." So all of a sudden we had kind of a book deal, and we had these dancers coming in, and before I started, I discussed with my business partner at the time that books don't make any money, so let's share the no money profits with all the dancers. So the reality of this book is I own, I think, 150th. I think there's 147 dancers, and my producer Lonnie and myself. So if the book makes $150, every single person in the book gets $1. And that was really, really important to me, because as an artist myself, I know what it's like to be taken advantage of, or doing something for publicity, or doing something for, exposure. And I just did not want to do that to these incredible artists that gave me their time to do the book. And that's what happened. And then it came out, and it did quite well. Is that enough? Shut up.
No.
Right.
I think it was that, like, how I and we at Guildhall found out about the work was because you shared ownership of the photographs.
These guys own their photos. If I want to use them, as soon as we finished the book, everybody got a download of their photos. All the photos I took, they're theirs. I didn't. I mean, if I want to, I'm sure if something comes up and I want to use one, hopefully they would give me permission. But that was really important to me to give back after they gave me.
Exactly, and we saw all of the artists sharing these photographs. And I'm very lucky, a lot of the artists that you have pictured I've worked with. And we saw them posted again and again and again. And it's how we reached out and made this happen, which is quite amazing.
but the people who organized my finances didn't love this idea.
But I guess I'm curious, Classic and Jose, there's this moment of catharsis, I imagine, in the studio at that time. And in speaking with you, Mark, and speaking with the two of you and other dancers that are part of the project, they all share a comfortability of being in the studio with you and in front of the camera.
That's because they were 30 feet away.
But I'm curious to know from the two of you how that experience was, both coming out of the pandemic or very much in the pandemic, and the relationship between like the photographer and the sitter, which is really quite an interesting one, and I think impacts how we receive a photograph.
Hello everyone. I'm not sure if the mic is working, but my experience dealing inside of the pandemic and then coming out of it was, for an abundance of time, I was just teaching classes that was on Zoom, and for me, like the connection, same as Mark was saying, wasn't there, because just to feel the person out, be like, oh yeah, move this isolation this way, and to make minor adjustments, it just felt so cut off. So I had the privilege of working with Lonnie Landon, like when I first started dancing and flexing, and through that of discovery of movement, I've been working with her throughout the years, like here and there, and it's cool to connect with Mark, because when she gave me the green light to be like, hey, I want to bring you on part of this project. And she said, by the way, you should check out Mark's work. So then once I looked on his Instagram and kind of seen all the profiles, I was like, oh man, this guy is like top tier, And then he had like DMX and Double XL. I was like, this guy is, amazing. So then I didn't know like what to expect like coming into it, especially as an artist in a pandemic. I was like, you know what, let me just give it a try. And first, when I first walked in and got to see Mark, he was like so laid back, calm, relaxed. He's like, hey, sit down. He said, that chair is the same that Obama sat in. You know that, right? I was like, really? Oh, so I'm presidential. So I felt pretty good. So automatically, he has like this overwhelming like way of like showing artists and people like a way to be comfortable within themselves. So that already gave me like the notion to be myself in the way I wanted to be. And from there, he got into like knowing about my story, which is important. And especially like as artists, I feel like that's the main thing that should be the focus point. Like what is everybody's story and how does it kind of connect to everybody? What is the connective tissue? So after my story, he was like, you know what? Now it's time for you to dance. And believe it or not, he was like, oh, that's gorgeous. So now I'm like really getting into it, And believe it or not, like that experience was amazing for me, because I got to not only be myself, and he not only allowed me to look deeper in myself as an artist, but he captured like the most natural point of like myself, which is like the story behind the eyes. So yeah, try to wrap that up in a nutshell.
Thanks, Stu.
Thank you, Anthony, for having me. Lonnie actually reached out to me, and I knew Lonnie from somebody else, but she had said, oh, we're having this project, and if you know of any other dancers who would like to come, like, spread the word. And at the time, mid-pandemic, we were sort of doing these illegal classes with the whole ballet community, City Ballet, Martha Graham, just anybody who could dance was in these classes. So I told everybody, and a lot of the dancers that I told are actually shot in this book. Mark was just so much fun to hang around with, and same stories about the Obama stool.
I'm good for the first 5 minutes.
But it was super fun, and it was a little nerve-wracking also because I wasn't in the best shape of my life.
Yeah, you look really out of shape.
We did warm up like into it. I did some softer poses, which is what you're seeing today. And then I got into some really, really hard poses where I think I may have had a little back spasm at the end of the photo shoot. But all the photos came out really beautifully, and it's just an honor to be photographed with my work.
Oh, stop.
It's this beautiful looking through the book and having an intimate moment with these portraits. There is such a warmth and a softness, just so many of both them in motion and their seated portrait. And as you flip through, you see testaments or reflections from several of the dancers within there. But you see it in their eyes, in the photographs, as Classic just said. The community, I think, of dancers that we built through this project is really, it's remarkable.
Yeah, that was really important to Lonnie. I'd like to, I understand why it's important. I certainly didn't at the time, but for Lonnie it was important to have, you know, everybody from we have some people from Juilliard who do students, and then we have some people like Gus Solomon, who sadly passed away, who was the older generation. We have teachers and older dancers, and you know, it was very important to cover all the way from ballet to flex, which I always get wrong.
Yeah,
Flex, to Vogue, to Broadway, to Spanish dancing, to ballroom. It was very important to be inclusive in the book, and I understand that now. And what was really interesting for me was, I'm not sure of exactly, but we would have schedule, we would shoot on a Monday. They say we only had a couple of hours where we had the right light, so schedule sometimes was tight. So it would be interesting, somebody like Classic might be dancing and doing his thing when the next person came in, because they may have come in, and they would get to see what the person before them was doing. It was usually a completely different genre or style than what they were going to do. And I think a lot of people met each other that hadn't met, you know, so it was, and for me to meet these people, to understand, to watch them work, it was just mind-blowing. And I genuinely did not know what I was doing when I started. I would miss what everybody told me was the apex, and I would miss it because I wouldn't be fast enough, or I wouldn't know what it was. But I would take a picture when I saw what I thought was right, you know, as a photographer. And what was really interesting about that is when we had a situation where the pictures came up on a screen, and immediately I would say to the dancer, come, have a look at this, tell me if you like this, is this right, do you like this? Because I wanted them to love it, I didn't, you know. And everybody seemed to love these just off moments. The moment just before the apex, or the moment just after the apex, or some kind of in-between thing that I thought looked interesting and I'd taken a picture of, but wasn't necessarily correct. And that was great, and I thought, okay, I've got this. But as I started to do more, I started to learn, oh, that's the apex, and I'd wait for it, and I'd shoot it. And then nobody would like it as much. I'd go, oh, I have to now take the picture before that. Or just after that. And it was an incredible learning curve for me as a photographer. I don't shoot daylight. All of my stuff is usually lit in the studio, and I would be, somebody turn the lights down, can we turn, oh no, you can't turn the light up, you have to turn the ISO up. Why are they getting darker? Oh, because the light, why are they getting, so it was, for me, I think I learned more in the 9 months of taking these photographs than I've done in the last decade of being a working professional. So it was mind-blowing, it still is.
And Jose, how was that experience of reviewing the photographs or being in that setting? Because through both Camden's Dance Project and ABD, you do quite a lot of more stage photographs or sessions that are meant to capture that apex. So I'm curious, as a dancer, what was it that caught your eye, that made you excited about it?
Well, I mean, he's a natural photographer, so it was pretty easy. There were moments where I'd be like, oh, can we do that again? We're just missing, just like in between the apex and like it being too early.
There was a lot of, can you do that again? I missed it.
But it was fun, and we had a lot of really, really great photos, which I could show.
Mark, I have a question about one dancer in particular. Can you speak about your time with Chita Rivera?
Oh my God. I mean,
Chita wrote the foreword for the book. And it's
sadly passed away. But so we reached out to, I think Lonnie reached out to Chita, and at that point we had 10 or 15 pictures or 20 pictures, and she was like, yes, just send a card to pick me up. So my business partner Jacob went up and picked her up. She came to the studio, and she asked, what do you want? I was like, Mr. Rivera, whatever you want to do, we want to do. So she says, I think I'll do my cabaret outfit. Chicago.
Yeah.
Not cabaret. Chicago outfit. So she was in her late 80s. She sat in hair and makeup for 45 minutes. She's wearing tights and a leotard and her top hat and her cane. And I just didn't, it was so hard. It was just, it was just such an experience to be in the room with her and her performing for me. Because there's nobody, it's a personal performance. And she was amazing, and she was so supportive, and she loved the idea. And there's a dancer in the book, and I forget things when I'm talking, but he has one leg and he's a tap dancer, and I can't remember his name. It's gone out of my head. Sorry, it's gone out of my head. But anyway, an incredible talent, a one-legged tap dancer, and he actually knew Chita. So we kind of got him to come in after Chita, so there was somebody she knew, and, there was a little bit of a backhander, but she was so happy that we were, having disabled dancers in them. So it was just a great experience. But the one thing I'll never forget is we asked her what music she wanted, and she said she wanted to listen to Chicago. And she said, the original recording now, because the new one had just come. So I'm taking photos, and it's and that bit comes on where she goes, all that jazz, and she was doing something completely different, and all of a sudden she just went. And I bet you, if she is in a restaurant and that music came on, she would drop her cutlery and just go. It was just the most phenomenal couple of minutes. And then she, we just loved her person. I just loved her so much. I just loved her personality. And, it was like a couple of weeks later, she wrote me an email to see how the project was going. It was just, so at that point, we just thought maybe she would be a great person to write the foreword. And then, Mr. Rivera, will you write the foreword? Yes, certainly. You just write it, send it up, we'll edit it and send it back. So, I didn't realize that's how you write book forwards, right? Could you write a foreword for my book? Yes, just write it and I'll sign it. But I really shouldn't admit that. That's kind of how it works, right? So we wrote it, and she kind of made it nice and sent it back. And then she was just wonderful. She was just an amazing human being.
It's such an amazing story. We have this photograph of Chita Rivera and Gwen Verdon in the Minicus Garden here at Guildhall. Because Gwen Verdon and Bob Fosse would curate an annual summer dance festival here. There's a photo of Gwen Verdon and Bob Fosse in the showcase table just over there. So it's amazing to see like these continual connections between this project and Guildhall and its history and it being here. And so, being that this show is titled A Creative Retreat, I am curious to learn from each of you. You know, Mark, you have a home here in Southampton.
Somebody in my family.
Yes, yes. Jose, you grew up coming out here and like very much following Gwen Verdon and Bob Fosse and curating an incredible summer dance festival each year. And Classic, we had such a great time summers ago. I'm curious if you could each share what brings you to this place and what either fuels you or inspires you. Let's start with Jose, let's go that way, yeah.
Well, my mother brought me out here when I was first adopted. I think it was one of the first trips that I did with her. And so since then, we'd spend summers and I have some childhood friends, Susie's son right here, and I became very close. So a lot of memories, childhood memories are connected here. And I don't know, there's something always magical about taking the drive out here and you start to smell the sea air and see all the beautiful homes and manicured gardens and everything. But there is something there's like a moment of exhale whenever I come out here. And then just like the arts, there's so much art that lives here and I don't know, that's a big draw for me. Going here and seeing the galleries here and
Nice. Can you give us a little sneak as to what we might expect this summer with your sixth season? Just the tiniest bit.
It's all shaping up beautifully. The program's like 85% done. A few new commissions that we actually just finished. Some pieces that are coming back. Actually, one of Guildhall's board members is going to be performing This Bitter Earth. So he's going to play guitar and Marty Cohen, if y'all don't know.
Secret talent.
And he's actually assembled an amazing group of other artists and a singer because it involves singing. So I'll be doing that with Devin Tusher. It's going to be beautiful.
Amazing. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Classic, you want to reflect a bit on your time with Missing Element? Because you saw so many pockets of this area in like your week and a half here.
Yes, the experience has been amazing here thus far, working with the Missing Element. And those that don't know who Missing Element is, it's a 5 world champion beatboxers and 5 street dancers that include crump, flexing, breaking as well.
I know all of these are now.
And it's honestly been amazing here because before the pandemic, I didn't even know what an artist residency was, you know, because I do like a lot of freelance work. So a lot of the work and stuff that I've gotten up until now has just been through connections and through like auditions and things of such. So being commissioned by Works in Process definitely helped open that range of understanding and different opportunities. So once I came to Guildhall, like, the hospitality was one of the things that stood out, and just the closure of everybody, just showing us like the love and how we are as artists and the freedom behind it too. Like that was like very important to me. So then it just made the creative process that much more amazing and that much more relaxing too. Because when I'm out there having to do auditions or having to do different performances, there's a sense of urgency that is like put on us as artists. That's like, we have to produce. But here it's like a total ease and relaxation, you know. that we're able to have and just be like, okay, we can be creative in how we want, and then going to Steve Talk House and like dancing on the beach, you know, with the band playing before us, you know, was like some of the most awesome moments. You know?
They created a whole cipher on the floor of Talk House, crowded bar with tons of just out of college girls screaming. The cipher of street dances in the Talk House. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was so great. Just the naturalness, you know. And yeah, Talk House was cool. It was cool. Yeah, it was. I just was thankful just to have that experience here, and it made me want to come back, especially because you guys have honored Mark's work and all of our work here. So I was like, this needs to be recognized, you know, and appreciated the right way.
I love the light out here. The light. Yeah, I love the light. Also, you know, my wife and my wife's family have been coming out here since my wife's existed. So I get to see her in a way. I get to see her, and my son is now getting to see, you know, parts of her and her childhood and reliving some of that. And obviously the traffic in the summer. I know the light and family.
We're going to have a bit of a Q&A, but first, I want you to turn to the person next to you and imagine you're in the car ride home and share what did you find interesting about this talk? What did it make you think of? Turn to the person next to you, behind you, have a quick chat, and then we'll take about 3 questions. Before we break and we go into the lobby where Mark's book, Moving Up the Still Point, is for sale, and Mark maybe will sign a few if he's new. Let's take, I'm going to say 3 questions, and we're going to see where it goes. So, does anyone have any questions? Kristen.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure to work with you, Jose, and Magic, and then to see your work. I noticed that the portraits are very intense, and I see the dancers. Some of them I know So can you explain this? Was there a direction there, or how did you get that from them? Even magic, I haven't seen you in that way, that working years.
So when I'm working, I work with a lot of celebrities. So when I'm working with a celebrity, and I have a fixed amount of time to make something happen between me and that person, you see Mark as the dog and clown show, is that the right expression? Dog and clown. You know, I'm a joker, I'm making jokes, I'm getting them to laugh, I'm getting them to, you know, whatever. I'm very good at it. It comes very naturally to me, but I'm the performance, right? I am the performing monkey at that point, and they're reacting, and I'm capturing that reaction. When I photographed these dancers, for the first time in ever taking photographs, I was still, and the movement came from them. And literally, I was still, and it was the first time in my career I was still. So after they danced, they sat down to have a portrait, and it wasn't the right place for me to be there. So what would happen is I would still ask questions and talk, but I think their adrenaline from dancing and the experience led them to be very honest in their answers. So I usually went to places which wasn't like, oh, what'd you have for breakfast? Or, you know, but like, how'd you feel? And how you doing in the pandemic? Is your family okay? Are your friends okay? Is everybody okay? And I think that led to a lot of real experience and emotions coming from the dancers, I think. But that was the process, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I think so.
That's very interesting that you shot the portrait after they performed. So it's, you know, it was almost immediately after.
Immediately.
Rather than like another session of portraits or portraits first to get to know a little bit about them and how you might shoot them when they dance. You just went in and shot them when they were dancing.
Well, they would come in and I would make sure I sat down on a chair opposite them for a few minutes, or at least to say, hi, I'm Mark, and this is what we're doing. But there was a series of photos, strange reference, in 1986, the Live Aid concert. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I was very young, but I was just starting to study to be a photographer, and some genius had set up a white background, and when the artist left the stage, whether it was David Bowie or Freddie Mercury or whatever, they just stood there and somebody took a photo. And I thought they were the most amazing photos I've ever seen. They were just post-performance. And I decided that there was something about that I would like to try and capture. I just wanted that post-performance moment when it's like that. So that's why I did that. No Freddie Mercury's, but you know, I still feel, you know, that people were kind of hype. Yeah, that's what happened there. Mrs. Mann? Don't ask why I didn't make any money. It's not my fault.
A little bit of a comment and a question. So, just a comment. Seeing it slightly from the outside, and witnessing this sort of experience of seeing you and my sister sitting 10 feet apart on the lawn out here, wondering if you would ever each get to do your art again. It's really incredible to see everything that ended up evolving and coming to this amazing project. But can you speak a little bit about the editing process? Because it was a very unique process. I mean, a photo editor by trade had a very different experience about editing images, and I know you had as well. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, what we did, and this is another part of the collaboration, is that after we took the photos, Lonnie and I would get together maybe that week, and we would choose our favorite, say, 15 or 20 or 10 or 5, whereas Lonnie was choosing from that's unacceptable as a dance piece, that ballerina will never accept that or whatever, and I was choosing for light and composition, and then we would send these selects to each dancer, and each dancer, we said, if you choose one, that will be the one in the book. If you choose 3, we're going to decide. So literally everybody got to choose the image that they wanted for the book, which was really important to me because they all looked great to me. It was, and I wasn't that specific, but what I was really happy with was nobody opened the book and went, oh my God, I can't believe they chose that. So every dancer had an opportunity to choose their own picture. And I think that's why you're freaking out as a photo editor, because, and I think the dancers appreciated it, because, you know, often they look at themselves in the New York Times the next morning and they go, I can't believe that that's the picture. And I didn't want to be, I thought it was important for them to love, or at least like, the picture that was going to be published. The portraits they didn't get a say in, but the dance photos they did.
Amazing. Are there any, we did our 3 questions, but is there anyone who just really needs to ask something?
Yeah. Did you want to ask something? No, we were talking. I'm just saying that I was in your talk and with your choosing, and it was a very different process than what you're doing, working on the book with dancers. I mean, it's really amazing exhibition to see the different process of each photographer, although it's a portrait. And I think it's an amazing story from the pandemic.
It was a great story, and we are very different photographers. I don't set my pictures up at all. I don't set lights up at all. And
I'm very envious. Very
I
envious.
know, so it's like when people say, will you take my photograph? And I'm like, not sure you want me to take your photograph. But when I do take a photograph of somebody, I usually feel it. Like, because, you know, the cell phone's wonderful. But when I really want to take a photograph of somebody, I just can feel it, and no make, I don't want you to straighten your hair, you know.
I'm terrible at photographing people I know. I'm
Well,
not
they don't
good.
like the way, yeah,
Because
they.
you also see them in a certain way that they maybe don't want to be seen.
That's right.
So if I photograph people I know and I love, I'm going for that, and that's not how they want to see themselves.
Right. Nobody really knows, that's why it's like, I never made a living taking pictures of people, unless I went, what?
I think thank you, but it's something that I love about this exhibition is that the vantage points and the viewpoints are all quite different in all of the work that's exhibited here. And yeah, I want to say thank you to Mark. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing with us. Mark's book, Movement at the Stroke Point, is on sale at our coffee bar. I want to just highlight 3 things before we leave. First, in addition to a creative retreat, the exhibition, the solo exhibition by the artist Darlene Charnecko in our Latino Spiga Gallery. Darlene is right here, so welcome to the gallery and introduce yourself. And then I encourage you, if you are not on our list, to join, this is cute, to join our list so you know more about the programs that we are doing. If you are not a member, become a member, because our summer season is about to be announced and you're going to want to know who's opening that stage. I can't tell you. But thank you all so much for being here. Please purchase a book, introduce yourselves to the artist, and I hope to see you next time.